Really good way to assess if the psoas is a little short is to do a gluteal activation lifting the leg, and that's what we're going to start with today. So for this, you're just going to bring your head onto your hands, and from here you're going to activate the left leg, so reach that foot away from you and then just lift the leg as high as you can, contracting the glute. So you should feel really strong activation in the glute, and just go as high as you possibly can with this. And lower it down. We're going to do the same on the other side. So activate the leg first, reach the leg away from you, and you're trying to activate the glute, lift the leg as high as you can, but keep the ASIS joint on the floor. So keep the hip joint pressing into the floor. You don't want to lift the hip, you want to keep the hip in the floor. Go up as high as you can and lower it down. Let's do the opposite side again. So reaching away and lifting as high as you can, making sure the ASIS joint remains on the floor, and lower it down. And then we go the other side. So lifting and lengthening, keeping the ASIS joint on the floor, and lower down. And then just come back into a little child's pose, stretching out the glutes, giving them a little bit of length, and coming back up. If you record yourself doing that, you'll be able to see how high the legs have come. And usually you can see if one side is a little longer than the other based on how high the legs are lifting. If you have one side a little higher than the other, you can actually work on cross education. If you train the psoas on this side, we'll get about 11% of an improvement in the strength on the other side. So this is really useful when you have either injury or weakness in the body. So we're going to take advantage of that. But now that we have activated the glutes, then we have given a little bit of inhibition to the psoas so that we can stretch it a little. So we're going to use a bolster and the blanket for this. Better if we have a little bit more bulk on the side where we're going to be resting our hips. Now, the best way to do the stretch that we're about to do on the bolster is to actually do it laying on your bed with the leg hanging off the side. We want to keep the legs straight when we're doing this little stretch. So we're just first going to bend the knees, and we're going to lower ourselves down. You can adjust your little blanket so that the back of your head is resting on it. We're going to straighten the right leg. And here you can see that there's a little bit of a stretch. Now, it's not much. You can imagine if I were laying on the side of my bed or laying on the side of a sofa, for example. If I let the leg hang off, it's a much deeper stretch. But we're going to take the opposite knee in towards the chest. So just gently pull the left knee in towards the chest and really let go of this side. So you want this to just hang out. You don't want to be using any effort. And we're just going to take a few moments here. And if you're doing this on the side of your bed, let's say that the foot doesn't reach the floor when you hang it off the side of the bed with the leg straight, you can put something underneath the foot so that you can still relax but without overstretching. So I'll just take a moment here. And then we're going to release that left knee. We're going to bend the right leg, straighten out the left leg. So really let the leg hang. You see the foot just falls out, and then we're going to pull in on the right knee. Now, if you notice that the pelvis is tilting up when you do this, so let's say that you're lifting up this way, that is a sign that the hip flexors are short. But this is stretching the hip flexors, and because the leg is straight, we know that we are getting a little bit more focus on the psoas. So just relax here. It's important to know that it's the lower fibers of the psoas that we're working on in this position. And we're just relaxing. And then we're going to release that right leg. I'm going to take the left leg in and then carefully get up. So just come off the bolster. We're going to move the bolster and the blanket out of the way. So for this one, actually, we're going to start from an all fours position, and we're just going to take the left leg forward. So we want to be able to kind of lean the hips forward a little bit. So place the hands on the hips and just reach forward a little. Now you could feel a little bit of a stretch here, but to increase the stretch, we're also going to do a little rotation. So just turn the body to face away. Breathe here and try to send the hips forward as you gently rotate. We'll just take a few breaths. So inhale and exhale. You can lean a little deeper in. Inhale and exhale. One more time. We inhale and we exhale. Coming back to the center, I'm going to place both hands down. So this time we're going to get the stretch on the left hip. So as we place the hands on the hips, we lean the hips forward. We're getting the stretch here, and then we're going to turn to face away. So turning away, and then we inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Lean a little deeper. We inhale and exhale. So now that we have stretched a little on the psoas, and we're going to continue to utilize reciprocal inhibition, so with gluteal activation. So for this, you're just going to come to all fours and then just allow your hips to rest down on the floor. So you're just going to first come to the sphinx pose, and then I want you to squeeze your glutes and press your hips into the floor. So squeeze the glutes as hard as you can, and then relax, and then just come up a little bit. So keep your hips on the floor, relax your bum, take a little stretch. So this is reaching into the psoas. And then you're going to squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, press the hips into the floor, really actively engage, really, really, really strong. Relax, and then you're going to take the little bit of length that you got in the hip flexors. So keep the ASIS joints on the floor. If you feel that they're lifting, then you're at your end range. You don't want to go beyond there. So just stay there for a moment. I'm going to do one more. So squeeze the glutes as hard as you can. Press the front side into the floor. Really, really active. Relax, and then press up. So take a little bit more length. And if you feel a little crunching in the low back, don't push up. Let the bum be soft and just take a little bit of a stretch, and then lower. Just rest your head in your hands for a little moment and wiggle the bum from side to side. It. And then just coming up, we take a little child's pose, a little gluteal stretch. And the last thing we're going to do is a little hip flexor strengthening. Now there is a whole series on strengthening the hips on the channel. With this, again, we're focusing on the psoas. The legs are straight. The pelvis is neutral, so you don't want to be collapsing here. If you're collapsing, put a little blanket underneath your backside, or just remove the flesh from under your sitting bones. Make sure your sitting bones are resting in the floor. Hands on the hips, engage the legs, so point away with the toe, and we're just going to lift the leg over for 1, 2, and yoga teachers can count, 3, 4, and 5. And was that 5? No, not really. Okay, we're going to do the other side. So activate the legs, point the toes, and we're going to lift it over for 1, 2, 3, and I maybe will start talking and then we'll lose our count. No, I'm joking. 4 and 5. Okay, that's a very simple little activation exercise that starts to fire up the hip flexion fibers of the psoas. If you felt like you had good length and you had good strength and you were very easily able to go over the block, I want you to take a look at the hip strengthening series and see if you can amp up your hip strength.